Minister, thank you, and good afternoon to you. So the focus, let's start with these three icons. I imagine that in the books that will be released, you'll be focusing on other living legends. But these three that we highlight, what do they capture about the importance of preserving our heritage as South Africans?
Firstly, they are living human treasures. The message we're sending to the nation is that we should treasure them as a nation, and they represent holistically who we are as a people, our culture, that even foreign nations in Europe and elsewhere, if they want to get into our soul and understand who we are, these three represent us as South Africa and as a people over a period of time on this land. So we felt that it's important to raise this and say to our nation that we have many human treasures. Some are younger in our communities, all our communities, villages, townships, and so on. We implore all in our society to highlight the lives of these people we have and what kind of change and impact they have in our society.
So preservation is one thing, Minister, but actually a transmission of that knowledge, of that cultural heritage from one generation to the next is also really important. I mean, as we have seen and have been reminded by the number of icons and legends we have lost in the last few months, whose stories and, recollections spend decades. So in terms of that transmission from one generation to the next, is this book, these books that you are putting together, are they part of that effort?
Well, they are. If we look at each one of them, let's take, for instance, Ouma Madosini Mpahleni. What she's doing with the traditional instruments, she's imparting that knowledge as part of our program of the Living Legends program. She's imparting that knowledge to younger generation. It happens with Dr Esther Mahlangu. She's created a village there, and that's what she's doing. The new language, Ouma Katrina Esau, is also doing the very same thing, because we believe that with them, as our human treasures still amongst us, we should benefit so that long after they've gone, we still see their works through young people. And most of them, in fact, all of them, emphasize and focus on young girls in developing them and ensuring that that which is our treasure continues and far away.
Sure. So how do you plan to use these books then, Minister, to serve that particular purpose in terms of availability to the ordinary South African to be able to interact with these traditions and cultural heritage?
Firstly, I would say that we started the project last year, and we've decided that every year we'll have these human treasures. We started with Ma Noria Mabasa, the sculptor herself, and we are targeting the libraries. As you know, that in the past few years, we've been rolling out the program of libraries into the rural areas, in the township, so that people get this assistance and knowledge production in areas where they are. So the first area we've targeted is our libraries. We will be engaging with the basic education. In fact, we've started to have this as in schools, because we believe that the indigenous knowledge system is one aspect of our lives we have not spent much time on.
Yeah.
So we want to fill that gap.
All right, Minister, before I run out of time, let me throw two curveballs at you, questions that are not directly linked to this particular conversation. In a way, the one is, because we're talking heritage and preservation thereof, in the last few months, we've lost the last two remaining Rivonia trialists and have now lost George Bizos, who was part of that history. And on paper, at least, the Rivonia trial restored tapes are said to be available. Well, let me tell you a story, Minister. I actually went a few months ago to try and look for those archives from the website, and it was such a mission. And it got me thinking about your role as government in preserving that history, not only preserving it, but making it available. How seriously do you take this task?
No, we take them seriously because these, at least the last three Rivonia trials, including George Bizos, the late, may his soul rest in peace, were part of this launch, and it's accessible to the public. We do have technical program which has been going on for some months now, complicated by the coronavirus pandemic. But it is there, it is available. It's the entire Rivonia trial, from day one to the very last day.
I guess the point that I'm making, Minister, I guess the point that I'm making is that technical problems are not really an excuse, because if you were to think about the counterparts, such as the Smithsonian Institutes in the United States, I doubt they'll be saying they have technical issues, right, in terms of preserving the history and heritage of that country. Minister, I don't have time to allow you to respond to that thought, but I do want to ask you about developments in your other portfolio, sport. There have been developments overnight at SASCOC and Cricket South Africa. Where do these developments leave cricket, and is this the government interference? Is this government interference, and were you aware of these moves by SASCOC?
No, let me say in passing to Lasizwe that we are committed, those records are there, and they will be up and running. We committed to that. Coming to this question, cricket in South Africa is in a mess. And because it's in a mess, we took time to engage everybody, including former players of cricket, including former administrators of cricket, and the public at large, that cricket is a shadow of its former self. So we've engaged with the leadership of cricket, both from a corporate governance point of view, which is a big challenge, both from the leadership point of view. And we have made our views known. We have shared with everybody. SASCOC is playing its role. It has to play its role because it has to intervene. If it doesn't intervene, things are going to go, uncontrolled as it is. But there has to be something which is done to revive cricket, to be back, whether it's on the issue of discrimination, whether it's corporate governance, as I said. All areas point to south in terms of the performance of cricket. So we want cricket back. We applaud what the SASCOC is doing, and will support to ensure that the cricket is back on its feet.
All right, Minister, thank you for your time. In fact, I think I can make this commitment that we will be inviting you back to talk about those specific issues that you and I could not get into detailed discussions about, including the National Archives, as well as the Rivonia tapes, as well as preservation, really, of some of the major events, such as the coronavirus, for example, which we are living through right now, how we are preserving that history. Minister Nathi Mthethwa, I appreciate your time.